Oh, it's late in the day. Hi, my name is Renee Hobbs, and welcome to this session on YouTubers. YouTubers and media literacy. I'm really interested in the idea that YouTubers might be change agents for media literacy, and that we might be overlooking some amazing media literacy educators who are working in the YouTube sphere, right? That's why I created this opportunity for us to talk about YouTubers for media literacy. So you're here at the website right now, and I'm going to look at it as you might experience it as a learner. I'm going to make the page a little bit bigger. What I'd like to do today is I'd like to model a learning activity that will involve us thinking about YouTubers as people who are modeling or demonstrating or engaged in a practice of media literacy. Some of you are here because you are already activating YouTubers, like Igor is working with YouTubers in a beautiful media literacy activity in Croatia. And Julia has been making YouTube videos herself to communicate some key ideas for media literacy. But in this activity, our starting question is, in what ways are YouTubers modeling and demonstrating the application of media literacy concepts and competencies? How do their viewers respond to their work? Now, we're not going to be talking about those big educational organizations that have a YouTube channel, like the Media Education Foundation or Common Sense Media or Hank and John Green's Crash Course. We're going to be talking about the work of some less well-known YouTubers: Captain Disillusion, Feminist Frequency, ContraPoints, and Tiffany Ferguson. And our online learning modules can be experienced as you're experiencing it now in a live Zoom meeting, but it also can be a standalone learning experience for a group of learners who might answer the question, are you familiar with the work of these YouTubers? And what other YouTubers are demonstrating or modeling media literacy concepts or competencies? So I invite you to come back to that question. But you see how I use these buttons at the top to move from section to section? Before we talk about YouTubers, and as we think about YouTubers, we're going to recognize that we might need to review the core concepts and key principles for media literacy. For this group, this is not really necessary, but for other groups, it is. So here I've identified the core principles of media literacy according to, namely, I've put forward the ACRA model, which I created in 2010. Analyze, access, create, reflect, and act. The digital citizenship model from the Council of Europe, I think, is a very, very strong framework that is digital literacy and digital citizenship and media literacy, with its beautiful butterfly and its three frames of being online, well-being online, and rights online. The Project Look Sharp model, which shows media literacy as a learning process that starts with access and moves to action. And Kathy Tyner's multi-literacy mandala, which is deeply inflected by the work of the British media literacy scholars and introduces concepts like narratives, text, aesthetics, production, distribution, and most importantly, context. So you're familiar, of course, with all of these ideas. So we'll skip right ahead to the first task. I'm going to introduce you to feminist frequency, and maybe you can give me a thumbs up if you have encountered feminist frequency before, if you're familiar with their work. They have 220,000 subscribers, so they're one of the bigger media literacy YouTubers. Why don't we get introduced to who they are?
saving them. They're damsels in distress. I'm saving the princess. Am I supposed to let the princess die? Is that what you want? That's kind of harsh. That's kind of hostile.
Well, maybe the princess shouldn't be a damsel and she could save herself.
Well, they've got games where they've got games. I didn't know you brought a posse.
Okay, you got the concept, right? Wow, they're focused on issues of representation when it comes to gender and race. And you can read a little bit more about the Gamergate controversy. But what we're going to do in this activity, I'm going to model this activity as a large group. And then I'm going to break you into 3 groups, and we're going to analyze 3 other YouTubers. But here's the way we'll do it. We're going to compare and contrast 2 videos to notice how Anita Sarkeesian uses media literacy concepts in her reviews of media text. As you watch, pay attention to the content, the form, and the structure of the videos. We're going to look at one of the I believe this is the very first one she ever made back in 2009. And then we're going to look at one from 2018. Now, as we watch these, I'm modeling an incomplete process. We're only going to watch the first 90 seconds of each video. And then we're going to make some impressions using the Jamboard to comment on what we noticed. So what we're going to do, we're basically commenting and noticing patterns. How does this YouTuber's work align with your understanding of media literacy? So we're going to put up some sticky notes and make some observations about Anita Sarkeesian's work. Let's watch 2 short clips, and then we'll do a comment and analysis, and we'll document our ideas on the Jamboard. Are you guys ready for this? Okay, let's go.
I just found out that Dollhouse is being renewed by Fox for another season. It's a Josh Whedon TV show, so I wanted to give it a chance when it first started. Dollhouse is a show about a bunch of people who get their brains wiped, and then new personalities and experiences and memories get put into their heads, and they can exist as that person for X amount of time. And they get hired out by clients to perform various tasks. Most of the engagements are men trying to fulfill a fantasy. Dollhouse is really a glorified brothel. Dollhouse is really misogynistic. I don't know what other word to describe it as. There's a big issue that hasn't really been raised about whether this is rape or not. It's been talked about online a little bit, but the show hasn't dealt with this issue at all. So they sign these contracts saying that they'll be in the dollhouse for X amount of years, and their conscious mind isn't around, so they can't consent to every single engagement that they go on. Now, if you can't consent, then that would be rape, right? In Dollhouse, we're, as the viewer,
Okay, that was the first minute. Now let's take a look at their work in 2018.
Here at Feminist Frequency, we are constantly being accused of being killjoys who just want to make sure no one enjoys anything ever. Video games, movies, TV, music, social media, mayonnaise. Well, that's mostly Ebony's thing. I actually really like mayonnaise. But the truth is, we love those things just as much as you do, even the cheesy stuff. Carolyn would rather die than share how much anime is in her Netflix watch list. And Ebony's #1 karaoke jam is Total Eclipse of the Heart. And as for me, well, I've been maintaining the internet's most popular Dirty Dancing live journal account since 2011.
But despite being the card-carrying pop culture weirdos that we are, we're nevertheless very serious about the mission of Feminist Frequency, which is helping to educate folks about the power and importance of bringing a critical awareness to the films, TV, music, ads, literature, and news we engage with each day. What is media literacy? And why should you care? I'm glad you asked. According to the Center for Media Literacy, it provides a framework to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and participate with messages in a variety of forms, from print to video.
Okay, you've just watched 2 minutes of feminist frequency, and so you can't really say too much about it, but why don't we practice making some comments? Who wants to go first? What do you notice?
The ways that they engage their audience.
What do you notice about the ways they engage their audience?
The first person came across with not a manifesto, but angry and, wanting that heard. The second video, they very much tried to connect and build a relationship with the audience with whatever they had that was in common. Different approach.
Great observation. Building a relationship with the audience was definitely more evident in the second video. Thanks for sharing. Who's next?
For me, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Daniela. I will be next.
Sorry, for me, she was not conscious about what she was doing in the first video. I mean, it was media literacy, but probably she didn't know it was media literacy. But the second one is much more intentional.
Great observation. Who's next?
Yeah, I can be next, Renee. So both of these videos, I think you can feel and you can see the critical approach to the topic they are talking about. And also they are bringing examples, which makes it easier for the audience to understand what they are criticizing and why they are taking this critical stance.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, that isn't really very good grammar, but you got the concept, right? Now it's your turn. Captain Disillusion, ContraPoints, and Tiffany Ferguson. Each team will be assigned one of these 3 YouTubers. Let me share my screen again. You have to go to the website and watch at least 2 minutes, just like we did here. Move through the process. Here's Captain Disillusion. Isn't he handsome? Here's ContraPoints. She's amazing. And the 2 videos and the Jamboard are all right there for you. And Tiffany Ferguson, you don't have enough time to do this perfectly, but I think we're going to find some interesting patterns nonetheless. Does anybody, while I'm breaking you into rooms, does anybody want to ask any questions? What questions do you have about this activity?
So how are we in there for 10 minutes? And
yes, you're in there for 10 minutes.
And where are we posting?
Great. So you're posting on the Jamboard, right? And I'll put that link into the chat just so that you have it in the chat here. Hold on just a second. Here's the Jamboard where you can post your comments. That's a great thing to have that as a backup there. What other questions do you have? Okay, so the first group is breakout room 1. Kathy, Daniela, Heather, Iglika, Patricia, and Robin. You guys are doing Captain Disillusion. Group 2, breakout room 2, Cornelia, Frank, Igor, Julia, Lauren, and Segnit. You guys are doing ContraPoints. And breakout room 3, Elliot, Joshua, Kate, Marina, Regina, and Salome, you are doing Tiffany Ferguson. If you have any questions, just ping me for help, but otherwise I'll see you back here in the main room in about 10 or maybe 12 minutes. Rooms are open. Be fast, be furious, but have fun. Meet a new friend. Talk to each other.
Well, I acknowledged my ignorance to YouTube culture. I talked about how I was introduced to YouTube culture briefly with the webinar that I did with Zoe 2 years ago, but then I never moved beyond that. And meanwhile, YouTube culture seems to be evolving into something that I have not tapped into yet. So I'm curious about that and the social and educational ramifications of that.
I am curious to know if feminist frequency was somehow formally introduced to media literacy, because for me it seems that in the second video, for me it was like a good branded content, like something like this.
My question is if they know about the power of they have to be like a speak person from media education or media literacy. If they have already be engaged to our side, like Daniela said, the first one, she looks like she already had the knowledge about media literacy, but the other three, no. But we just saw one, but that's okay.
My question is, how do you do effective media literacy in an attention economy if the purpose of it is to follow the rules of attraction and all of this? I mean, I think it can be very good for journalism in the same way that journalism can sell itself on providing good news. But just when it comes to unpopular opinions, how do you do that?
Well, certainly YouTubers are much more interesting than I am talking about media literacy.
I think that the best way could be cooperation between media literacy experts and these YouTubers. They can translate the message in the audience language. But if they do that without media literacy experts, I think that it can be dangerous, because if they don't know anything about media literacy, they can just put the ready opinion to the audience. And it's not about teach them how to ask questions, but it's just like already biased things.
Yes, that I'm exactly the same. I thought it was because I'm an older person, is that I had to take a lot for granted. You know, I'm used to having citing sources and all this different kind of thing. But we're taking it on faith that these are good video YouTubers, Renee, because you chose them. You know, but you know, it could be used differently. Yeah.
Back to Elliot's point too, I think there's much more effort that needs to go into producing video. It's not, I mean, they have to be movie-like in a way to be able to capture an audience's attention. So I don't know what that brings up, but just that it's a lot more work, and there's a certain skill that goes with that.
So Igor, now you know how you inspired me. When you told me, what was it, a year ago now? It was last summer. We were in some beautiful space in Croatia. We were walking in the vineyard or on top of a mountain somewhere, or were we by the seacoast eating oysters together? And you said, we are collaborating with YouTubers in Croatia. And I thought, what a good idea. Just as a conclusion, tell us a little bit about that project, will you?
Well, this is a fantastic project called The Year. So the idea is that we listen to the audience, and we have initiated a project together with 8 famous Croatian YouTubers, and they have participated in this media literacy project, asking the pupils to bring their testimony, their experience on cyberbullying. So just in several months, we gathered more than 1,000 testimonials. Some of them are terrified. When you read them, it's horrible. So we had to include even in some cases police department and some others. And this was so huge because we were not expecting that they have that kind of level of trust in YouTubers, the youngest predominantly, together with other pupils. And this is something totally revealing from my personal professional side. I couldn't expect that kind of reaction. So almost 1,000 examples in just 3 months time, built and thanks to the huge efforts done by these 8 YouTubers.
Beautiful. You know, Igor, just a week ago or so, I got a chance to do a 1-hour interview with Tiffany Ferguson. We had a webinar from the Media Education Lab. And one thing that scared the heck out of me was that there were 330 people registered for this webinar.
Yeah.
And most of them were fans of Tiffany. And I could see as these people piled up, I thought, oh my gosh. And now when we came to the open part of the discussion, I was so full of anxiety. It's like, these are all fangirls. They're all fangirls of Tiffany. What will it be like to have a dialogue with them, since they just seem so excited to be, you know, talking to Tiffany? And you know what? They were so thoughtful. They were so articulate. They were so engaged with thinking about media. Their questions were so wise. And I thought, see the stereotypes I had in my head, right? That
We
I
all
thought
had.
kids were trivial, and I thought this was unimportant. And now I realize these were young people looking to have serious conversations about media. So I am absolutely intrigued about the idea, with partnerships with YouTubers, with understanding YouTubing as a discourse practice in connecting media literacy to internet culture. I hope you're curious about it too. And I hope at the next Media Literacy Conference, we can talk more about it. In any case, thank you so much for joining me. Let's give a round of applause for participating in the workshop. I'll see you again. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Renee.